Okay, so previously on this channel, we put together this beautiful redwood fence, custom cut, and today we're going to practice some kind of exponential recycling. I'm going to take the scraps of this that I've used for another project and take the scraps of that and make a new project. My wife is doing yoga right now, so we are going to go explore the wood pile and check out the scraps from this fence right now. Right, so here we are at my various wood piles in the backyard, and you know, when you build a fence or a big project like that, you got to buy a lot of wood, and not all of the wood is going to be perfect. Some of it is just going to be, you know, rejected for the purpose that you're using it for, but that doesn't mean that it's like waste. I rack it, I keep it, I use it for other projects. One of the other projects I've used this discarded redwood for most recently, and I just did this really quickly. We were in a hurry. We had a bit of a tree emergency that needed planting. I went ahead and built this box without filming it. And this is a very similar concept to what we're going to do today. So this was made out of the scraps of our fence. Out of the scraps of this, I'm going to make an even smaller box in the same style to plant this lovely guy here, whose planter obviously is plastic and a few years old and is starting to dissolve and break apart. So we have another little plant emergency for this guy. He needs a new box. This olive tree here was actually the twin of the olive tree that you can see, that giant right there, peeking up over my fence. They were the same size a few years ago when my wife and I got married in 2017. That one got planted in the ground, and you can see it's enormous now. This one we've had in a pot, and it has been a bit stunted, so it finally is getting its time to thrive in this large planter box that I scrap built for it. And today's build is going to be a smaller version of this box for this little guy. Here we go. Okay, so to get started, we're going to do some measuring to see about how much space we need to build for our planter. My wife said that this one should be about the same size as the planter it's presently in, but obviously that's a round planter and I'm going to build a square planter, so it's going to have a little bit more volume overall in the end. Looking at this against the larger box, I can see it really doesn't need to be more than, like, I would say 3 of these and the base height. Let's quick measure here. Yeah, it's about 8 inches. And if I measure my 1x4s, they're not exactly 4, they're like 3 1/4 each. We come out with about 10 3/8, 10 1/2. It's about 10 1/2. So I think that's gonna be plenty tall. The diameter of this pot is about 1 foot on the inside. It's a little less than that, probably about 11 inches. So that gives me some starting specs to go ahead and work with my design. I've got a bunch of the scrap 1x right here. Let's take this into the shop and get working. All right, so to start, I want to look at my post length. And instead of measuring these out with a measuring tape and trying to make a really clean number style mark, what I really want to do here is just line up 3 of these 1x boards, because that's going to be the height. Rack the bottom so that they're all even. And then just draw a clean line right across all 4. So that'll make sure these are even and that the top and the bottom line up with the sides. So another quick trick that lets you avoid tape measures and rulers and marking, once you have one of your pieces cut, every time you go back to try to hit that same line that you marked clean all at the same time over and over again, human error is introduced, and you're never going to get the saw on that line in the exact same way all 4 times. So if you really want all your posts to be the same, what you do, line up your ends and use the piece you've already cut as a saw guide. Line up your saw blade right at along the side here and bring it down right in line. Just make sure you're holding so that both ends are flush. We'll do that 4 times and we'll have 4 posts exactly the same length. All right, so now that we're ready to do our 1x4s, this is where measuring does come into play. Now, we wanted to go about 11 inches, maybe even 10.5 to make a similar size planter box from what we had before in that round planter. So it's called 1x4, but it's actually neither 1 nor 4. As you can see, it's about 3.5. And depth of this, it's about 3/4 of an inch. It's between 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. So what you want to do is estimate that 3/4 of an inch for both of your pieces when you're building a square box, and build one of your walls 1.5 inches, so 3/4 plus 3/4, shorter than the other half, so that you can build a nice clean box with the same dimensions on all 4 sides. So we're going to make this box 11 inches by 11 inches. So let's start with a clean 11-inch measurement. Here. We're going to go ahead and extend that line all the way down the board. Nice and easy to see when we get to the chop saw. For the other walls, instead of 11, we're going to do 11 minus 1.5 inches. That brings us back to 9.5 inches. Go ahead again and extend that line all the way down the board so it's nice and easy to see. And these two are going to be our marking blocks, our measuring blocks, to make the rest of the pieces. So we don't have to measure each one every time we cut. Right, so these 4 pieces will make my first box, but before I go ahead and assemble this, I'm going to use one of each of these pieces as a measuring block to cut the rest of my pieces. As I mentioned earlier, I want to go 3 stacks high, so I'm going to need 6 pieces at each side. Okay, so the next step in the process here is to assemble our 3 boxes that are going to stack on top of each other. So we want to put our 2 longs on either side and our 2 shorts on either side, and start to stage our box out. Make sure you've got your screws handy and ready nearby. And you can do this with one drill. You can switch back and forth between your driver bit and your drill bit, but I do recommend pre-drilling before you put your screws in, especially if it's wood that you care about and you don't want to have to cut it again if it splits. And in this case, I'm using 2 drills so that it's easier and I don't have to switch bits back and forth. But if you only have 1 drill on hand, you can do it with 1. So we want to pre-drill. We want to line up our corners, drill us a hole, insert our screw, and drive it in. 2 of those per side. When you're finished, it'll look just like this. So we'll go ahead and move around all 4 corners until we've got our box assembled. Okay, we've got all 4 sides assembled on our first box with the longer pieces screwed into the shorter pieces on both sides. And now I'm going to do this 2 more times so that we've got 3 boxes just like this one. Okay, so now that we've got all 3 of our boxes, we want to stack one on top of the other. And what we want to do is alternate the screw placement. So you've got screws exposed on this side on the bottom, then alternate to the side here, and then back to this side on the top. And if you were building a taller box, keep alternating until you get to the top. So next we're going to take our posts, which come out perfectly height-wise, and install them in each corner with screws through the middle on both sides. Alright, that came out great. It is nice and sturdy and stable. All 4 posts are in. So the only thing left to do for this planter box is to add a bottom to it. So we're just going to flip this guy right upside down and cut 3 of these pieces to go across the bottom, like so. We'll screw those in, and this project will be good to go. All right, the top here, which is actually the bottom, is now assembled. Let's flip this thing over, and our super cute planter box is all set. Let's go show the wifey and plant ourselves a little plant. All right, there it is, right next to its bigger sibling, bigger parental unit. I think it's a parental unit planter box and a baby. I think that's what we're going with here. Anyway, let's do a reveal and see how wifey likes it. Peanut! Peanut, come here! Here she comes.
Oh, did you finish it?
I did. Look what I built for you.
It's so cute!
Planter box had a baby.
Yay! Thank you!
Yeah.
So cute for our ice plant.
All right, now let's get to planting. All right, so there she is, all planted up and pretty, right next to our olive tree. I think it looks great. What do you think?
Very nice. I love it.
Yeah. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this quick 1-hour build. We'll be back with more soon. See you then.